You're looking at a city with terraces above the bay. Boats, the smell of salt, stone arches. It feels like a film set. A painted world behind glass. But this is Sorrento. A real city on the southern coast of Italy. And this is exactly what Netflix used as the face of Loguetown. The city where the king of the pirates was executed. Now imagine, Eiichiro Oda has been drawing the world of One Piece for 27 years. More than 1,000 chapters of manga. And almost every island, every city, every building is a real place on the map. Venice, Barcelona, Cairo, a Bavarian castle, a French palace. You've walked past them without knowing they were a map of the Grand Line. This is what we do on this channel. We take fictional worlds and show you where they touch the real one. Every story borrows more from reality than you think. Worlds behind the fiction. Subscribe and let's keep going, because the best part is still ahead. Let's start with what you've already seen. Netflix Season 1. Shellstown, the marine base where Zorro was tied to a post under the blazing sun. Remember those colourful houses cascading down to the sea? Their visual reference is Positano, a tiny village on the Amalfi coast. Netflix took that postcard and dropped a marine fortress on top in CGI. That became Shellstown. And the floating restaurant, Baratier, where Sanji cooked his dishes? Oda worked as a teenager in a restaurant called Baratier. Literally. The name travelled straight from his youth into the manga, and from there onto a massive set built in a water tank in Cape Town. But Italy truly reveals itself in Season 2. Loguetown. The town of the beginning and the end. The place where Gol D. Roger was born, and the place where he was executed. That wide harbour shot is the Sorrento waterfront. Those same terraces, cliffs and bay you've seen on 1,000 postcards. And the world government buildings in frame? Gothic architecture from Florence. The Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore. The Basilica of Santa Croce. Domes, arches, stone that is 500 years old. All of it visible in Loguetown. And yet not a single scene was filmed in Italy. Everything was shot in Cape Town, South Africa. Enormous sets built from scratch at Cape Town Film Studios. The execution square, the streets, the port, all built by hand. But the visual references, the style, the spirit, Italy. Because One Piece isn't just Japan. It's the entire world. And Oda confirmed this himself in his SBS column. If the Straw Hats existed in reality, Luffy would be Brazilian, Zorro, Japanese, Sanji, French, Robin, Russian, Nami, Swedish, Chopper, Canadian, Brook, Austrian, Frankie, American. One crew, 10 countries. The entire geography of the world in one boat. After Loguetown, the crew enters the Grand Line. Reverse Mountain. The enormous whale Laboon, who has been waiting for his friends for decades. Then Cactus Island, Whiskey Peak, a town where every resident smiles to your face and pulls out a knife at night. Then Little Garden, a prehistoric island where two giants have been dueling for 100 years and neither one remembers what started it. Netflix filmed it at Paarl Rock in South Africa, a granite boulder the size of a small city resembling Australia's Uluru. But all of that is just stops along the way. The real prototypes are still ahead. Water 7. The city of canals, the world's greatest shipwrights, and Yagara bulls instead of taxis. Oda confirmed this personally in volume 38 of the manga. Water 7 is Venice, and this isn't just a resemblance. It's a copy at the DNA level. Canals instead of streets. Bridges instead of intersections. Gondolas, which in the world of One Piece became Yagara bulls. Water bulls pulling boats through the canals. A city that stands on water and slowly sinks. In real Venice, the water level rises every year. Piazza San Marco regularly goes underwater. The city fights for survival with the Mose project, a system of underwater floodgates that took 20 years to build and still works only half the time.
Water 7 is sinking too.
Its residents also build and repair. Only instead of floodgates, they build ships. And that's not a coincidence.
This is what Oda does.
He doesn't just copy buildings. He takes a city's fate. Venice sinks. Water 7 sinks. Venice lives by shipbuilding. Water 7 lives by shipbuilding. Venice was, for centuries, a republic of merchants that survived by cunning, not force. And so is Water 7.
But here's a detail almost no one notices.
In real Venice, there was the arsenal, a massive shipyard where an entire warship could be assembled in a single day. In the 16th century, it was the largest industrial complex in the world. 16,000 workers, an assembly line invented 300 years before Henry Ford. Water 7, with its galley-la docks and legendary shipwrights, is that very arsenal, redrawn by Oda's hand.
Reality and fiction stand on the same foundation,
which is going underwater.
The finale of Netflix Season 2.
Nami fell ill. The crew desperately searches for a doctor. They arrive on a winter island buried in snow, where a castle stands on top of a mountain. Strange, impossible, as if someone had drawn it into the sky.
That castle is Neuschwanstein,
the Bavarian Alps, southern Germany. It was built by Ludwig II, a Bavarian king whom his own subjects considered mad. He spent the entire treasury on castles that no one needed, lived alone, talked to portraits on the walls, staged opera performances for empty halls. Not a single audience member, just him and the music. He was overthrown. And a day later he was found dead in a lake. The circumstances have never been explained. A mad king whom no one understood, but who left behind the most beautiful castle in Europe.
Now think of Dr. Hiruluk.
A man whom everyone on Drum Island considered a fraud, who believed he could cure an entire country, who raised a pirate flag on a mountain and declared that disease does not exist. He too was called mad. He too was ignored. But it was his ideas, the ideas of a madman, that saved Chopper, the little reindeer that everyone abandoned.
And it is Neuschwanstein Castle that stands in frame when Chopper stands on the tower,
looks up at the sky, and cries. Oda chose the castle of one madman to tell the story of another.
Incidentally, that same castle inspired Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty Castle.
Which means the same castle of a mad king is the foundation of both Disneyland and Drum Island. Small world.
And in the Netflix series, the interior of the palace on Drum Island
was filmed inside St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town. A neo-Gothic sandstone building with stained glass windows and columns. Outside, Bavaria. Inside, South Africa. Two continents sewn into one house, and you don't notice the seam.
Dressrosa.
A kingdom where everyone dances, eats and laughs, where there is music and flowers on every corner. And underground, people turned into toys. A tyrant who controls every movement with strings, literally. Not a metaphor.
Oda confirmed it in volume 72 of the manga.
Dressrosa is Spain, and the main visual reference is Park Güell in Barcelona. You walk in, and you see mosaic from broken ceramics, curved benches, organic forms that look like a child drew them under the guidance of a genius, because that's exactly what happened. The park was designed by Antoni Gaudí, an architect who changed the very idea of what a building can look like.
And the Corrida Colosseum in Dressrosa? The Roman Colosseum. 4 tiers, arches, columns, circular form. Gladiatorial combat. A roaring crowd. Only instead of swords, devil fruits. But here's what's scarier than any architecture. Dressrosa is a beautiful prison. People dance flamenco and smile, but only because the alternative is to become a toy and be forgotten forever. Even family won't remember your name. Spain knows this contrast. Francisco Franco ruled the country for nearly 40 years. Flamenco was danced. The bullfights continued. Tourists came for the sun and sangria. And people were imprisoned for the wrong words, the wrong books, the wrong language. A celebration on the outside, a dictatorship within. Oda didn't just copy the buildings of Barcelona, he copied the trauma.
We haven't been to Alabasta with Netflix yet. But Season 3 is already filming in Cape Town, and Alabasta is its center. Princess Vivi, Crocodile, Baroque works. Everything Season 2 was building toward explodes here.
Alabasta is ancient Egypt and the modern Middle East.
Domes, minarets, endless desert, sandstorms you cannot escape. The name itself most likely comes from the word alabasta, a mineral the ancient Egyptians used to carve sarcophagi and statues of gods. White stone, smooth as bone. And the main villain of Alabasta, Crocodile, controls sand. He literally dries out the country. Sets city against city. Creates the illusion of a rebellion to seize power in the chaos. This isn't fantasy. It's a textbook on colonial warfare. Divide and conquer. The oldest strategy in history. And Oda placed it at the center of an arc where the set dressing is pyramids and mosques. Crocodile is one of the 7 warlords of the sea. A pirate the world government gave legitimacy to. He uses his official status to destroy the state from within. This isn't a caricature. It's an exact copy of what happened in colonial Egypt, in British India, in dozens of countries where power pretended to protect while actually devouring. Here's a fact almost no one knows. The official One Piece databook Vivre card states that Alabasta was also inspired by India, the Taj Mahal, Rajasthan, the architecture of the Mughal Empire. Oda blended 2 worlds separated by thousands of kilometers because both are about the same thing. Empires built on sand, which crumbled back into sand, and now we've reached the very top. Literally, the top of the world. Marijoa, the Holy Land, the capital of the world government, the place where the celestial dragons live, people who consider themselves gods, where the fates of nations are decided, where behind marble walls hides the most brutal system of power in the entire world of One Piece. The prototype is Château de Chambord. The Loire Valley, France, one of the most famous castles in the world. French Renaissance in its purest form, conical spires, windows reaching into the sky, and a spiral staircase that legend says was designed by Leonardo da Vinci himself. 440 rooms, 365 fireplaces, one for each day of the year. A castle that was built not to be lived in, but to display power, so that everyone who approached it would feel like nothing. And here is the genius of it. Chambord, a symbol of the French aristocracy that lived in unimaginable luxury while the people literally starved in the streets. Those very same aristocrats who in 1789 were were dragged to the guillotine. Oda could not have chosen a better prototype for the celestial dragons. The celestial dragons, the nobles of Marijoa, wear glass bubble helmets so they do not breathe the same air as ordinary people. The French nobility of the 18th century didn't wear helmets, but the essence was absolutely the same. They considered themselves a different biological species. They believed their blood was blue, and everyone else's was red. And the final detail that closes the entire circle. Sabo, the revolutionary. Luffy's brother. His ideology is the French Revolution in its purest form. Liberty, equality, fraternity, the overthrow of tyrants. Even his name sounds French. Chambord stands as a monument to an aristocracy that the revolution swept from the face of the earth. Marijoa stands as a monument to the celestial dragons that Luffy will one day sweep away. This is not a coincidence. This is a blueprint. One Piece has been running for 27 years. More than 1,000 chapters. 2 seasons of Netflix and a third on the way. Behind every island, a real city. Behind every building, a real history. Behind every name, a person who is long gone. Oda doesn't invent worlds. He reassembles ours. Takes Venice and gives it Yagara bulls instead of gondolas. Takes a mad king's castle and puts a little deer learning to be a doctor inside it. Takes a palace of French aristocrats and fills it with monsters in white robes. The world of One Piece is our world, just with a pirate flag. And now you know where that flag is flying.